Imagine waking up in the middle of a forest 40,000 years ago. No streetlights, no house, no phone. And darkness does not simply mean you cannot see very well. It means you may have no idea what is standing 10 steps away from you. So here's the question. If you were an ancient human, what would you actually do at night? The first answer sounds obvious: sleep. But the truth is stranger than that. For ancient humans, night was not just a time to rest. It was the time when fear went to work, the time when fire became a wall, the time when stories began to matter, and maybe the time when the human mind slowly became something closer to yours. Before electricity, night was almost another world. When the sun disappeared, the forest lost its colors layer by layer. Green leaves became black shapes. Ordinary rocks became strange bodies. Tiny sounds grew louder. A branch snapped, an insect called, wind moved through the grass, and your brain would start asking the same question again and again. What was that? That was not weakness, that was survival. In an ancient world, if you wrongly assumed a shadow was just a rock, you might not wake up again. But if you wrongly assumed a rock was a predator, the worst thing that happened was a moment of panic. So the human brain learned to be suspicious first, especially in the dark. Many historians of sleep have argued that before the modern electric world, people often did not sleep in one long, perfect block. They may have slept in phases: a first sleep, a period of waking, then a second sleep. For ancient humans, waking in the night was not always a problem. It may have been normal. Someone watched the fire, someone fed a child, someone listened to the edge of the camp, someone got up to add more wood. Because if the fire went out, everything changed. Fire was not just light. Fire was a tool. Fire was warmth. Fire was a circle of safety. It made many animals hesitate. It made food easier to eat. And it let people see each other's faces after the whole world had turned black. Some scientists have argued that controlling fire and cooking food helped change the course of human evolution. Cooked food gave easier energy. The body spent less work digesting. The brain had more fuel. But fire may have done something else too. When you had fire, you did not just eat better, you gained the night. Before fire, darkness could force most creatures into silence. But for humans, the hours after sunset stayed alive. Around a campfire, people were not just staring at flames. They repaired tools, they scraped hides, they prepared spears, they shared food, they comforted children, and they watched each other in orange light that never stopped moving. That matters. Daytime was for practical work, finding food, traveling, watching for danger. But night around the fire gave the mind room for things you could not hold in your hand: stories, memory, warnings, rules, imagination. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner has studied nighttime conversations among hunter-gatherer groups and found that talk around the fire often feels different from talk during the day. In daylight, people discuss work, where to go, what to gather, who did what. But at night, conversation can drift farther. People tell stories. They talk about those who are not there. They remember the dead. They laugh. They plan. They build a picture of a world larger than their small camp. Now imagine a child sitting beside the fire. That child has never met a saber-toothed predator, never been lost in the forest, never watched someone die after walking too close to danger. But the child hears those stories from adults, in the dark, in low voices, with shadows moving across the cave wall. That was not just entertainment. That was survival training. A story lets you practice danger before danger becomes real. It teaches a child, do not walk alone. Do not ignore tracks in the mud. Do not go near dark water at night. Do not assume silence means safety. In that way, night may have been humanity's first classroom. No blackboard, no book, no teacher at the front of a room, just fire, voices, and people who had survived long enough to tell the others how. But night was not only fear, it was also the sky. For us, stars can feel like decoration, especially if we live in bright cities. For ancient humans, stars could be a map, a calendar, a signal of seasons. When a group looked up, they did not only see points of light, they saw patterns, they saw stories, they saw time, and maybe they saw hints that the world had an order to it. Some nights may have been full of laughter. Some nights may have been so quiet you could hear another person's breathing. Some nights someone was sick. Some nights someone died, and on some nights someone may have looked at a shadow on the cave wall and started to draw it. Cave art was not born from empty hands alone. It came from fear, memory, need, pattern, and imagination. Humans were not only surviving life anymore, they were beginning to interpret it. Darkness made the outside world smaller, but it made the world inside the head much larger. That is one of the strange gifts of night. It made humans vulnerable, but it also pulled humans closer together. Alone, you might run slower than a predator. You might see worse in the dark. You might smell less, hear less, fight less. But you had other people. You had fire. You had stories. And you had a brain that could imagine danger before it arrived. Tonight, if you turn off the lights and your room suddenly feels too dark, if you hear a small noise and turn your head before you even think, if you like listening to stories before sleep, maybe that is not random. Maybe it is a tiny piece of a very old life. The life of people sitting around a fire, watching the darkness, and trying to make it until morning. Because night was not just when humans slept. Night may have been when humans learned to become human.